Winter is coming, guys. That is not just an expression from Game of Thrones, it is an expression that we use a lot up north in England. And interesting little side note, did you all know that House of Stark, and supposedly from the region that Jon Snow is from, is actually Yorkshire, a Yorkshire accent. And when they're talking about north of the wall, they're obviously talking about Adrian's Wall. Little fact for you all. But winter is coming, which means we obviously start to put lots of more thick, cozy clothing on, and we have a lot less things on show. Now, why is this relevant? As you probably saw from the title of this thumbnail or thereabouts, if I've decided upon it yet, is contrary to the winter. In the summer, we have obviously more skin on show, we're warmer, we live in vests, tank tops, shorts, skirts. So one thing that is often quite obvious on my videos are that I do have 2 tattoos on my heels, and I get asked what they are, more interestingly why I have them, and even furthermore interestingly whether they are very minimalist, which I actually think is quite an interesting topic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, I'm going to tell you what they are, and then whether I think tattoos are minimalist or not. I'm rather appropriately sitting in the hammock so that I can show you all. On this foot, although I will do a closer up shot for you momentarily, I had this tattoo when I turned 18. It was just one of those things as a rite of passage that just because I could, I thought I should. Now, that does not mean by any extension that I regret having them done, because for me, tattoos are something that, depending on how much thought has gone behind them, although arguably, just like within minimalism, you know, if the memory is there, do we really need anything physical? Although the physical thing is on our skin, so it's not actually an actual possession or object. But I can see arguments for or against, but I sort of think that if it is something that has meaning and has intention, and it's something you enjoy, then why not? So I am very interested in mythology, philosophy. I have a master's in philosophy. I also love ancient philosophy, as in Greek philosophy. So the reason I have chosen my heels to be the only place that I have tattooed are because they are my Achilles heels. They are, if any of you know the myth, and that is what the tattoo itself is about, are about how Achilles was dipped by his mother, who was a god, into the river Styx, but because she was holding his heel when she dipped him in the river to kind of make him godlike and immortal, the only place she could not dip in the river Styx was his heel, making his heel his most vulnerable and fragile part of his body. And obviously when he does eventually get killed in a later myth, it is because an arrow strikes his heel. So I like the idea that the Achilles heel was a physical thing that I could just do to enjoy as part of the myth, but wound in between the kind of thorns and things symbolic of the river, there is also a wave of the river Styx, and within that, as I'll show you in a close-up, there are the words in Latin which were written by Virgil, who was a Roman poet who wrote a poem about Alexander the Great, and it says Audentis fortuna juvat, which means fortune favours the bold, which is something that I have always stood by, hence me standing on it now on my feet, because I think in life, if we are too afraid to take a chance, take a leap of faith, we can miss out on life. Life is for the brave, and it is my belief that the braver we are, the better our life. And one of my favourite sayings that kind of goes with this is a proverb I actually heard in the film Strictly Ballroom by Baz Luhrmann, who is one of my favourite directors. And he actually says, obviously through the script of a character, that a life lived in fear is a life half lived. And I feel like that's a similar saying. So I actually love this tattoo and I don't regret doing it. And one thing that I do enjoy is that it is on my heels, which are, you know, for all people that kind of, if you believe in sort of, what can we call it without being too un-PC, tradition of femininity, whatever the hell that means. If you believe that perhaps tattoos wouldn't look nice in a wedding dress and that sort of thing, and very feminine is what I'm getting at, they are easily coverable. Because they're on my feet, I can easily cover them if I want. Strappy sandals covers them up, whereas it might be harder if you were that way inclined to want to cover them up, say on your arms and things. I personally don't mind tattoos. I think that if anything, we could argue that they are very minimalist, because, you know, some people think that true minimalism is sort of being like tribal-like and living in the wild and it's part of nature. And cavemen and women had tattoos thousands of years ago. So that is another good point for tattoos. It was just a way perhaps of adorning themselves as part of a tribe. So now the other tattoo is one that I perhaps only got about 5 years ago, and it was actually to, in a way, be more minimalistic, because when our family friend, who I want to call my little brother, our family dog, passed away, we loved him so much. He brought us so much joy, and after he did pass, it was actually incredibly hard I perhaps had the biggest challenge as a minimalist ever, because I wanted to keep initially, you know, when the grief was strong, I wanted to keep his old chews that he'd not had a chance to chew. I wanted to keep his tennis balls. I wanted to keep every collar, every coat, every lead. And I realised that that wasn't really remembering his memory in a positive way, because more often than not they made me sad to look at them. So what I decided to do instead was, we had an ink paw print of his, so I decided to get it immortalised in my mortal Achilles heel, going with the other one. Because unlike Achilles, I am mortal. I will pass away, just like my friend, who I went on lots of walks with in nature. And if anything, I would say, as silly as it may seem to some people, that I think even creatures can influence us. And I would watch Marco on his walks and how much he was enjoying sniffing and being in nature and listening to everything, and he really reminded me to be mindful and live in the present moment. So I actually began to embrace nature and nature walks even more because of him. And when he passed and that wasn't possible anymore, I decided I still wanted to be able to walk with him. So I have his paw print on my Achilles heel, on my other Achilles heel, so that I can walk with him forever, or at least until I am no longer here. And I kind of like the idea that my mortal presence, my mortal physicality, is taking that with me to the grave. Now, is that minimalist? I can see all kinds of arguments for and against. I can see why people think having a completely blank canvas, you know, empty canvas skin as a minimalist would be more minimalist. But you can also see that from a caveman, cavewoman perspective, tribally, people would have tattoos. But also, it's intentional, the things that I've chosen. And also, I kind of had the tattoo of Marco's paw print to symbolise the stuff that I hadn't kept. It was a way of keeping a part of him with me without physically having any stuff. And the other side of things is to remind me of my mortality, to remind me that I am not immortal, just like Achilles. And so they are my Achilles heels. I love deeply. Love is my only attachment in this world. And I walk with a philosophical mindset. Now, just a final little point on this, I don't know whether you all remember, but I often talk about Yuam's son and how much she did influence me in my minimalism journey. Hence me also really loving the hammock idea. But if you can all remember back to her channel, she too did even have tattoos. And I think by many people, she is considered to be perhaps one of the most extreme minimalist, definitely females that there have been on, at least on YouTube. And she had several tattoos and they were minimalist design style, and which is obviously another form of minimalist tattoos, just like minimalist painting, like the Picasso line drawings of birds and things or faces. And she would have little line drawings of little pieces of lavender, little pieces of heather, kind of little botanical plant type line drawings. So they were even minimalist design. Some people could even say that having things like necklaces or things on your fingers and wrists are instead of keeping jewellery. So I think it's a part of human nature sometimes to want to adorn ourselves or identify ourselves or individualize ourselves in different ways. I think that's been there since the dawn of the human race. So based on that, I would say that it doesn't really matter whether we have tattoos or not. We can be minimalist with them, we can be minimalist without them. Tattoos can be minimalist, having no tattoos can be minimalist also. I don't personally think it really matters. I hope you've enjoyed this little topical discussion. Let me know if you have any tattoos, what they are, whether they have meaning, whether they have intention. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!